Now, I know some of you guys are having a field day with this title. Quick, haven't you dunked on 14 multiple times in previous videos? Like this one?
Meanwhile, I'm sitting here comparing 14 to Dragon Quest X, which is a game I had more fun with in my first few hours of playing, and it was in a language I couldn't even understand.
Or maybe this one?
The combat honestly reminds me a lot of Dragon Quest X's combat, and if you ask me, both systems blow 14's combat out of the water.
And now you're saying you like it? To which I say, hold your horses and let me explain myself, okay? I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy XIV lately, which you can watch me play live over on twitch.tv/quickreviews. So get your ass over there, Sundays 5 p.m. CST if you haven't already. But anyway, with all the hype that's been surrounding 14 and everyone switching over from World of Warcraft, because the devs over there seem to be pretty big assholes, I decided I needed to get back into 14 as well. I keep wanting something to scratch that MMO itch, and 14 never did it for me before. But this time around, I think this is one of the longest times I've stuck with it and played consistently since I played for the first time back in 2014 or so. And this is even after the fact that they burned the original release of this game to the ground before making a new and improved version that became A Realm Reborn. Now, if there's one good thing that came out of 1.0, it's the final event in the game. I mean, just look at this. This player's wandering around Gridania, and you can hear this echoey, ominous music. Then he goes out into the overworld, and then there's this big meteor, and it's thundering, like, oh my god. This shit gave me Majora's Mask vibes, and I love Majora's Mask. I only wish that I could have experienced it for myself. With that being said, making that canon within Final Fantasy 2.0's story is absolutely insane. I knew about all that before while playing 14, but now that I've been able to get further in the game and am 3 or 4 quests away from Stormblood, I can appreciate that fact a little more, as they do some really cool things with it in the story. Not gonna be too specific here because of spoilers, but trust me, that's a big compliment coming from me. But that's not to say I love everything about the story. Sometimes I get bored out of my mind doing the main scenario quests, as some of those quests are the most boring things I've ever played. I understand this is just standard MMO fare, but my god. I've said this before, and I'll say it again, if there's garbage questing, why not just take it out of the game instead of having pointless padding? I don't think any MMO will ever do that, because you need to make sure to have enough content for your fanbase that's always hungry for more content. So there's gotta be some boring-ass questing to help tide them off, but I've never been a fan of that dynamic, plain and simple. Now, while there are some really low lows, there are also some pretty badass highs. The Dragon Song War, I thought those patch quests post-Heavensward were going to be boring as hell, but I actually found myself watching every cutscene and wanting to do the next main scenario quest. The MSQ has definitely been the worst part of the game for me so far, and I'm glad to see that finally start to change, even if I do still have many problems with it. And whenever I get sick of it, I just stop doing it. I don't force myself to push through the boring-ass quests all the time. I stopped trying to rush through the game to get to the good part, like so many other people told me, and started focusing more on what I found fun to do. There really is so much to occupy your time in this game, it's really crazy. I've been leveling Dark Knight, and I gotta say, most fun I've had with a class in the game so far. Then, if I get sick of doing my dailies to level them up, I'll head on over to Palace of the Dead to get more levels in a different, very interesting way. I've also been grinding for my anima weapon before moving on to Stormblood, and trust me, that's a process. But it just looks so cool, and I decided, screw it, why not, I want it for myself. And just by trying to get the anima weapon upgrades, it's led me to do so many different things that I never would have done otherwise. I had to go through 10 dungeons with my anima weapon equipped to upgrade it, and some of the dungeons were places I had never been to or unlocked before. So getting to experience those optional dungeons while upgrading my anima weapon was a win-win. I especially enjoyed the one where the Toneberry chases you around as you go throughout the place. That shit was so funny. Then I finally tried out the PvP, even though I had no desire to do that at first, so I could grind for poetics to get the unidentifiable objects that I need for my weapon. And even though a lot of people shit on the PvP in 14, I found myself queuing up for matches even after I had finished grinding just because I found it fun. At first, I couldn't get a single kill, it was all assists. Then the more I played, and after I fixed my keybinds a bit, I started whooping ass. I was getting 6 kills a game, and I was feeling good about myself. And to think, I was killing 3 birds with 1 stone. 1, I was leveling up my Dark Knight just by playing PvP, which I wanted to do anyways. 2, you get 50 poetics per game, win or lose, so I was making progress toward my anima weapon with every single game. And 3, I was even getting wolf marks, which are basically PvP currency that you can trade in for unique armor and weapons that actually look really cool as well. I felt so productive by accomplishing 3 things that I wanted to do all at once, all while enjoying the activity I was doing. That is such a rewarding feeling, and I really can't describe it unless you play the game for yourself. Plus, the PvP's worth doing just for the music alone. I mean, just listen to the friggin' And even after all of that, there are even class quests specific to your job that I'm actually finding really entertaining. The Dark Knights especially, again, I'm loving. There's just so much more to Final Fantasy XIV than meets the eye, and if you don't take the time to enjoy every aspect of it and see what parts you hate or what parts you like, then I think it's a far less enjoyable experience. I can tell you the moment I started to realize that I was beginning to appreciate 14, because it happened today, and it's what made me decide to write this script. I was running through the forests outside Quarry Mill, queuing for Palace of the Dead with my Dark Knight. I had just figured out how to turn the UI off, and I was just taking in the sights. The sun was shining down through little spots in the trees, creating a really cool ray tracing effect. The birds were chirping, while the wind blew in each of my headphones as my feet hit the dirt, and the game was playing this really calming music as I found my way through the forest. Honestly, I felt like I was right there in that forest. It was a moment that I thankfully captured, and I just all of a sudden thought, man, I actually really like this game. No other game has made me feel like that in a while, especially not Shit Unleashed. I just wish it didn't take me this long to start to be able to give the game praise. I still stand by the fact that A Realm Reborn is absolute dog shit. The base game doesn't start to open up until you're a decent ways into it, and all the stuff I mentioned that you can do that's fun doesn't really get unlocked until almost level 50, excluding Palace of the Dead. And the combat, with it already being one of my least favorite things about 14, is trash until you reach Heavensward, because you don't have enough skills to make things interesting. Nor are any of the bosses interesting, because the game doesn't trust you enough to make complicated boss mechanics until the middle of Heavensward. And when you go back to do older content because of your dailies, you go right back to those 1 or 2 skills you had at level 15, and it drives me nuts. So there are a lot of pros to playing 14, but there are definitely plenty of cons that come with it. Let's start with the pros. 1. There's so much stuff to do that if you get bored doing any one thing, you can go do something entirely different. Level a different class, go for another relic, do some raids, hell, go do some crafting. I haven't even touched that part of the game yet. 2. The environments are spectacular, and it's really easy to get lost in the game's world. 3. The game's story can be really interesting when it wants to be, and it's really gotten better since Heavensward. And while there are plenty of cons to 14, I think I can really summarize it in one point. It takes way too long to really become a game that you can enjoy. At least for me it did. I can see maybe how other people could have enjoyed 14 if they didn't rush through the main scenario quests in A Realm Reborn like I did, but there's not really anything to do but the main scenario quests when you're that early on, so it's really a catch-22. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you to stick it out like so many others told me, but I can say that I've finally gotten to a point where I understand what people meant. And so, I really feel like I'm now finally learning to love Final Fantasy XIV. One last thing before I go. I just created a Discord that I want you all watching to join. Link will be in the description. I'll be talking games, doing giveaways, exclusive streams, and so much more. So I hope to see you guys in there. I'd really love to get a group together to play 14 with. That would be awesome. So don't forget, link in the description. Join it, baby. Alright, that's all I got. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys, or Endwalker is gonna be the end of Final Fantasy XIV. See what I did there?